Hi, Amazon sellers. Today, I'm happy to be joined by Chelsea Cohen, who is a co-founder of SoStocked, inventory management software for Amazon sellers. Also, she is an Amazon seller, Amazon expert, and also a copywriter. Hi, Chelsea. How are you doing today?
Very good. Nice to be here.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of people probably know you mostly for the inventory management, but
Hmm.
you also do copywriting, and we worked on a few projects together. So I
Yes.
figured it's a great way that you can share some experience
Mhm.
over Amazon copywriting.
Yes.
So yeah, my first question is basically what is your like audit process when you take a look at the product page? How do you tell if the product copy is bad, and
Hmm.
what needs to be changed, if everything needs to be changed?
Sure. Yeah. So I started selling in 2014 and really started getting into copywriting 2017. It's one of those things where you don't realize that your process is different until you start talking to people. And so I started talking to people about my process and uh, what I was doing. And one of the things in terms of, when you start this process, you need to understand not just your product, but you also need to understand the customer journey. And, everything starts with the product and your competition because I always like to say, Amazon is a comparative buying platform, meaning that people come there to buy and they are comparing you to other products. So it's very different than, writing copy for Facebook ads or writing copy for your own website where you don't have this comparison, but you also don't have the trust. You have the trust of Amazon, but you need to understand that people are going to buy a product. They just need to figure out why yours is better than the competitors because most people are ready to buy. So you start the process in terms of researching and finding out what are the negative reviews that are being talked about by, with your competitors. And can you position yourself differently by calling those things out? So the first few words of the first bullet point need to identify that. And that actually needs to go into your images as well. Everything though starts with that research process and figuring out what are these things that I can use as differentiators. What are two or three things that even if my competitors aren't like they have the same product and there's no difference, maybe they're not calling out a certain thing. So maybe you can call out that thing, and then people who are going to buy your product will think that you're different, even if your product's not. You want your product to be different, obviously, and to be better. And so that's the kind of the beginning of the process is your product better? How can you show it's better? And then the first few words of the first bullet point need to show that comparison. Unlike other products that do this, or while other products do that, or in some way wording it so that you know that you're starting the conversation with the comparison.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great insight. And you mentioned that you started on Amazon back in 2014. So you
Yeah.
definitely have a lot of experience. And, life on Amazon back then was way easier. And product
Mhm.
copy probably wasn't that important as today. And, especially as so many niches are getting saturated. So definitely you need a good product page copywriting to, outperform your competition and yeah, stay ahead of the game. So
Yeah,
that's great.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned about bullet points that
Mhm.
we should outline some things maybe from reviews there. But what are other good uses for the bullet points and for product
Mhm.
description, and then maybe for the A plus as well?
Sure. So with bullet points, that's kind of the foundation of where things start. And you need to, like I said, the first bullet point needs to call out how you're different from your competitors. You need to then understand what the journey is that the customer is trying to achieve. They're either trying to get some sort of pleasure, or they're trying to solve a pain point. So you need to be able to call that out as soon as possible. So compare your product to your competitors, and then tell me how your product is going to be better. And you can use techniques to, it's best to say not just our product is better, but how it's better. Our product is better because we have XYZ material, or we don't use filler in our supplements, or whatever it is. What is the differentiator? Not just we're better, how? So you explain that, and then you go into, we're going to solve your problems, and here is the way. Paint the picture of the pain point, and then go into, here's the before, here's you now, and then here's how you're going to be later. So you want to paint that picture of, the product is going to provide this for you. And at the same time, you're explaining the product, what those features are.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. That's great. Thanks. Another question I have is, so I personally work with Amazon PPC a lot,
Mm-hmm.
and we, take into consideration all the holidays, and even not in Amazon PPC, we adjust creatives. So
Mm-hmm.
what about product page copy? Should we be adjusting it regularly to the holidays that
Mm-hmm.
relevant to the product, and maybe the backend as well? And
Mm-hmm.
how soon should we do it before the holiday? So yeah,
Yeah.
what do you say about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely want to start putting keywords in there that are going to be more highly searched during the holidays, stocking stuffers and that type of thing. Gifts for, when we always like to do a bullet point that has some sort of gifting in it, if possible, gifts for, cooks, gifts for, food lovers, or whatever it is. Start putting those things into your copy, and do it enough in advance so that you're not in the thick of the holiday, and your listing gets de-indexed, and you don't have, time, you lose sales because you don't have enough time to, go through the process to get it fixed. So you never want to update copy. It's always best to update it in a slow period, whether it's a slow sales season, a slower sales season. So not right before Black Friday, maybe at the beginning of November, or even in October, because people will start looking for gifts earlier nowadays. And then also, don't do it on, on a Monday when everyone's doing their shopping or whatever. Whatever's the highest sales, or purchasing day for you. And, with our business, usually it's Mondays. And then, towards the end of the week, like Fridays are not good. So maybe you update it on a Friday would be, the guidance.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. That's a great advice, and I talk to a lot of sellers, and
Mm-hmm.
not a lot of them even aware that they should be adjusting
Yeah.
their keywords to the holidays, and like for PPC, we usually keep the history of, from back the previous years for all the
Mm-hmm.
holiday keywords performance, so we have the
Mm-hmm.
data.
Yeah, and it's actually with listings, it's a good idea to update more frequently in terms of keywords. So you might have your copy and that works, but as you start to increase in your ranking in some keywords, maybe it becomes less important that those keywords are prominent in your listing, and that you want to switch some other keywords up to help to boost your listing within those other targeted keywords. So it's a good idea to consider, every month or every couple of months to do a refresh on your listing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's also a great advice. And usually, yeah, on the back end, we will rotate some keywords that we want
Yeah.
to grow, yeah, in the ranks
Hmm.
for. Yeah, okay. So another question I have is how do you make sure you're in compliance with Amazon terms of service
Mhm.
regarding, copywriting? So what
Yeah.
not to include?
Yes, yeah. So there's a couple of things. One is to understand and to know what is and isn't okay. And some of it is on Amazon's website and some of it is not. And some of it is just stuff that you learn over time. So we've got an extensive knowledge of, what you can say and then how to say it. You can't directly call out your competition. You can't use brand names. You can't, and it's sometimes you have to be even careful with how you say, not directly saying unlike other products, or you say you don't, you would hate to get a product that would cause you this problem. You're not calling out other products, but you're saying this would be a bad situation. So it's finding ways to shift the wording so that it still fits within Amazon's requirements. And then there's a bunch of words that are not okay for Amazon, right? There are terms that are not okay. And so we have a list of about 200 terms that we've collected over time, both on Amazon's site and then on just having the experience of things being delisted and then hunting and finding, okay, no longer can you say eco-friendly. Let's start saying earth-friendly. Now you can't say earth-friendly. So now we say kind to the earth. So it's just this kind of juggling act, and you put that on the list. And then we actually use a tool similar to Scribbles. We use in ZonGuru, but similar to Scribbles and Helium 10. Any tool in whatever platform you're using that will search for whether you have a keyword in the listing, those tools like Scribbles, we use that kind of the opposite, and we run the new listing copy through that against the keywords, and we don't want to see any of those keywords inside of the listing. And so we will do that to be able to make sure that we catch anything.
Okay, great. Yeah, yeah. I see a lot of these questions in groups still up to this day. Like, can I include the competitor brand
Yeah.
name in my product
Mm-hmm.
page copy? And I
Yeah.
thought this was like a question that was answered a long time ago, but I guess a
Right.
lot of new sellers are coming in. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's, the only times when you can use brand names tend to be with compatibility, like
yeah,
iPhone. If
yeah.
it's compatible with iPhone, and sometimes we've even had where you have to say compatible or works with if you're going to use those terms. You have to be kind of careful with the brand names, and then also with health products, you can't make any claims. You can't say your product does something, um, or else you have to back it with an actual test case that has been verified. And even then, you kind of can sometimes get into some issues with Amazon because it's Amazon.
Yeah, and I feel it's kind of funny about the brand names and product page copy because you totally can do it in advertising, and we
Hmm.
target our competitor brand names and obviously
Yep.
the product pages. So it's like when you pay for it, it's okay, but since product page copy is kind of organic, it's not
Hmm.
allowed there.
Yep. Yep. That's right.
Okay. Yeah. So another question I have is, the Chat GPT is a huge topic right now, and a lot of
Yeah.
people already coming up with all kinds of solutions to replace the service providers, the softwares. So what do you think?
Hmm.
Is there any good use to write product page copy, compelling to the customers, and good for the algorithm?
Yeah, it's funny because we talk about this in our company a lot, the software company, and it's been very, yeah, like you said, very popular. There are certain uses for it, but you need to understand that ChatGPT and similar software are scanning the internet and are going to give you back something that is similar to things you can find on the internet. So you have to be careful with how you are utilizing it, right? And that you are finding something unique. I feel like it can get you part of the way, but to get you the rest of the way, in terms of personality and in terms of, really being careful with being aware of how to phrase things like we said, comparing and looking at the negative reviews. And then also the keywords. You need to go in then and place the keywords strategically and in a way that flows properly.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I was at first a little bit skeptical because after
Mm-hmm.
all, like the crypto NFT boom, now this, like everyone seems to be talking about it, even your grandpa. But yeah, we've been
Mm-hmm.
playing around with it, and the best use we found for it is like the more like creating topics for different brands where like we manage Instagram or whatever. Like it really helps, with going through topics and yeah, but it's whatever's on the internet there. It won't
Mm-hmm.
give you like the creative stuff.
Right. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because, we talked about that with some of the blog posts. And if you're going to be, in any way a thought leader in the Amazon space and you're going to write a blog post about, specific topics, you're not going to be a thought leader by using chat GPT. It might help you out. I've seen some good results, some decent results. And then fact checking. You have to fact check because, we had something where we asked about so stocked and we got something written up about it, but there was an inaccuracy. And so you have to fact check that as well. So there's a human element, and I think there always will be.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, great. So another question I have. How do you treat keywords with misspellings and
Mm-hmm.
from foreign languages? Do you
Mm-hmm.
ever include them?
Yeah, so that can be a little bit touchy. You have to find a way to include it in a way that's organic. Um, we've sometimes been able to hide misspellings in the product description. That has been, you can sometimes get away with that if it doesn't look so obvious. If it's a very obvious and glaring, it makes you look unprofessional, and you can just put it in the back end. So it's if you can put it somewhere else, then that's fine. But product description, sometimes you can bury it in there. And then we don't often use foreign languages, but like I said, if there's a way to do it so that it feels natural and it feels organic, sometimes you can. But there's so many keywords that you don't always have to, utilize all of them in that way.
Yeah, yeah, sure. Well, maybe, there are might be some like keywords with really high search volume that are
Mm-hmm.
worth being there. Or like we do some brands in Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
since, it's French and English, and
Yeah.
like there is no way to differentiate this, but we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing, some good search terms in French
Yeah.
from Canada. So we, definitely include it in PPC and
Uh,
yeah, thinking about testing it in the product pages.
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. So another question is a lot of Amazon brands
Mm-hmm.
like they don't really make a brand story, especially if
Mm-hmm.
they are only on Amazon. And I also have an Amazon brand with a business partner who's also doing the agency with me, and we're
Mm-hmm.
like not openly talking about our brands, and a lot of Amazon sellers are not talking about them,
Yeah.
because there are reasons for it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like what is your advice? Like if someone doesn't want to be open about their brand and they
Mm-hmm.
don't really have some compelling story about
Yeah.
how their brand was founded, so yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
what should those people do?
Yeah, it's important. And we actually, the last bullet point, we always put something about the brand story. And then we put it in the A plus content. I think the human element is important. And people more than ever over the past couple of decades this generation is buying more with their heart. They care more about, supporting small business and, that type of thing. So telling some sort of a story, connecting with some sort of a mission, what is it you're selling? Maybe you're selling toys and you can talk about how you want to light up, when that child gets that birthday present, their eyes light up, and that was a feeling that we love to give us, whatever. Find a way to connect with something. We believe in this, or it doesn't mean that you have to have a brand story. If you don't have a brand story, create a mission that's connected or that's tied to your product, a cleaning product. Maybe you wanted to create cleaner, greener cleaning products or something like that. There is something there. And oftentimes people don't put it in their listing. And I like to ask them, why did you start this business? And sometimes they'll open up and they'll say, oh, I have this passion. And then my mother so-and-so and did this. And I'm like, why is that not in your listing? That's beautiful or that's great. What do you tell other people when they ask you? There might be something that you're not thinking of that, you think you don't have a story, but you do.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And I've been realizing it more and more lately. Like the brand story is very important. It's not a question, but like when you're as a brand owner being open about it, because really the benefits might outweigh all the dangers. You just gotta be smart
Mhm.
about it. And yeah, like you said, people are buying with emotions. Okay, and another question I have is how do you work with variations? So if a
Mhm.
product has, just two variations, or sometimes they have 20 variations, is it like, well, I mean,
Mhm.
sometimes they are different by color and size. So it's
Mhm.
obvious we would change those keywords. But is there any other like adjustments?
Yeah, it does depend on the product. If it's just color and size, usually, it's you change those things, but then it can create an opportunity to change the keywords, change all of the keywords within the variation. If you have one variation that has certain keywords and the other that has another, you have an opportunity to put more keywords into your listings. So that would be one of the approaches. And I don't really, we don't really change too much fundamentally unless there is a reason to. But I think the biggest opportunity is within those keywords.
Okay, okay. Yeah, maybe we can even test the misspellings or foreign words on some variations.
Right. Yeah.
Because yeah, some products they really have. I've seen that some products have just so many keywords that it's hard to fit them all in one
Mhm.
description.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Chelsea, I asked a lot of questions and you provided a lot of great
Mhm.
insights. So is there anything else you wanted to touch on copywriting for Amazon?
Yeah. I guess, kind of to sum everything up, sellers need to realize that they are writing for people. They are not writing for the Amazon. They're writing for the people, but they're writing for the Amazon algorithm. But sometimes we get into only writing for the Amazon algorithm or copying what other people have done. There is the typical this is how a listing is written and everyone writes it this way. And I got passionate and, part of starting my agency was that you'd have people stand up in front of audience. And I remember someone, the big software guy, he stood up and he in front of 3,000 people and said, nobody reads bullet points. And I went on a little rant on Facebook. And I was, talking about, look, you say that no one reads bullet points, but I have people stopping me in the hallway saying, your training, helped me to get 5%, 10% increase in conversion. We had another software guru who said nobody reads bullet points. We took his listing from a friend of mine that wasn't performing based on his uh, algorithm technique, rewrote it, and his sales over the next 3 months increased by 800%. So that's the thing to understand is that people do read bullet points. And, just because you don't read bullet points doesn't mean someone else does. There are people that read bullet points, and it's just important to know that if they're not reading, if you make a change and nothing changes, maybe you are doing something wrong. Maybe they just don't read your bullet points because you're not saying anything that they want to hear, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And even if the guy was right and no one would be reading bullet points, but still it affects SEO so much, and
Mhm.
SEO, then without SEO, PPC won't be working,
Yeah,
So yeah, that's for
exactly.
sure. And if someone wants help with Amazon copywriting, where can they reach you?
Sure. Yeah. Go to my website, catapultconversions.com. And then, you can read more on our business philosophy, on, my background, and the various different services. Really, our core is copywriting, focusing on copywriting. And, we do listing refresh if you need to have your keywords, you know, refreshed. So yeah, we're there and ready to help.
Yeah, great. Thanks. And I really want to do another one because we're also using the so stocked, and again, that's
Right.
like what you're primarily probably known for.
Yeah.
So that
Hmm.
would be another thing to discuss with about because again, I'm big on Amazon PPC, and inventory management is very tight with Amazon PPC, and I
Yep.
think like a lot of sellers don't understand that. And yeah, because we're trying to communicate more on this, educate the
Hmm.
community.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would love to have you for the next one. But yeah, thanks so much, Chelsea, for sharing the experience. I'll make sure to drop all the links below.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.